And they were like, no way, Tone, no way. So I'd be dressed up with me ballet slippers and everything else, and they'd be looking pretty conventional. And then it was up to Steve Strange whether he allowed you in the club or not. So he once turned away Mick Jagger.
We're still doing it, Tony. I mean, I started doing what I do in the early 80s, and that's when Spandau Ballet came along. But I think we are still relative youngsters in this game. Well, some guys just keep going, don't they? I think this business keeps you young. It definitely does. I mean, you know, I just hit 64 June the 2nd, just for anyone for next year, by the way. June the 2nd. And I can't believe I'm 64. And where have the last 40-odd years gone? And people were talking about, you know, Band Aid, Live Aid. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. It's the strangest thing. But I don't feel any different. And to be honest, most of the time I don't act any different than I was when I was about 24. So I'm still having lots of fun, still loving singing, performing, writing and recording. So just soaking up all the opportunities that come along. Age these days in music doesn't seem to be a thing. I can remember when the Stones came back with Start Me Up and everybody said they're in their 40s. This is ridiculous. You can't be a rocker when you're 40. But I went to see Barry Manilow. I don't know if he's on your...
He's brilliant.
Yeah, I went to see him at the Palladium just a couple of days back.
Yeah.
80 and still...
Is he 80?
Absolutely.
Wow.
80, yeah, the voice of a 40-year-old. He walks a little bit like a Thunderbird puppet at times, but, you know, just still has the energy and the desire to go out and do it.
Yeah, my Auntie Pat and my cousins Vicky and Natasha sent me a picture of standing outside saying, we've been to Barry Manilow. And I said, I met him and he's a tall fella as well, really tall fella. But talking about age, it's really weird because back in the day when we were sort of, you know, those kind of trendy, angry young men doing our interviews and stuff, and we said, yeah, Paul McCartney and the Stones, they should all retire like they're too old. They were only about 32.
Quite.
And then you get to 32 and you realise, I'm still loving this and I'm going to go on for another 10 years. And then before you know it, you're down the line. But if you like music and enjoy it, then what's the point in giving up? I meet so many people, as you must do, who say, oh, and I'm retiring. What are you going to do? Play golf, do gardening? I hate both. So I kind of figure my voice is still there. I've still got so much to prove, actually. So I kind of figure I'm just going to carry on.
Well, that's interesting. What do you want to prove? I mean, surely you've done it all, haven't you?
No, I always want to get better. I always want to, you know, write better songs. I want to sing. I mean, I'm one of these guys that when I'm singing live, for instance, I'm always checking. My brain's always checking, you know, did I sing everything really correctly and stuff like that. I mean, not to the point of driving myself mad and not being able to sleep, but I just always want to be able to improve, you know, diction, timing, stuff like that. And I think that's important. You can never stop learning. And also I still read about the voice. I still do vocal exercises for about 30 minutes before I go on stage, whenever I sing, even if it's to 2 songs. And I just think that's important because you have a responsibility to the audience to give the best performance you can.
So did you have singing lessons when you started, or did you just get up on stage and start to sing?
Well, when I was a kid, I mean, I sang at primary schools, secondary schools, sang at the Guildhall in London. But it wasn't until I realised that I wasn't going to make it as an orthopaedic surgeon. So I just...
Was that really what you wanted to do?
That's really what... No, everyone, when I say that, I've said it many times, but everyone says, no, come on, Toe, you just made that up. I genuinely... I had books on spare part surgery and like microscopes, scalpels. I mean, you didn't want to go anywhere near me. It was dangerous. No, I genuinely wanted to be, but I just wasn't clever enough at the maths, physics and chemistry. So I then discovered music. My mum and dad bought me a tape recorder, I had a record player, and I used to sing along to Elton John, Rod, Bowie, Queen. And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I quite like this. And I'd been singing at school anyway. And then when I was about 14, I sang at Pontian's Holiday Camp. Forgot the words halfway through, which is something that's always haunted me. But people said, yeah, son, you're all right, you're not bad. The girl that I'd fancied all week, we went out. I thought, this is a laugh. And from then on, that was it. That's all I wanted to do. Just be a singer. And
how long between then and finding Spandau Ballet?
So about 2 years. So when we got to lower sixth form at Dame Alice Owens, that's when we formed the band. And our first bass player was Michael Ellison, who still comes to shows now and sees me. Then it was Richie Miller, who just texted me the other day. And then Martin joined the band in 78. And the whole Blitz thing was happening, and it was all the trendy young things and the glitterati. And then we obviously garnered attention from the record companies.
Yeah. And the music press as well, because I used to write the NME, and all of a sudden...
you guys hated us.
Well, I didn't write it, I just bought it.
It wasn't me, sir, it wasn't me.
But the movement was called the New Romantic.
Yeah.
Which I think is a people know what punk was.
Yeah.
People know what a soul boy is. What do you think a New Romantic was?
Well, it was because the whole, we'd gone from punk, and most of the punks became I was a punk, Steve Strange, Rusty Eag, and all those guys were punks. And it's sort of, when punk started to kind of fall off the edge, this new sort of movement came about. And I think, for my money, the biggest influence would probably have been Bowie, Iggy Pop, Lou Reed, that whole kind of Berlin avant-garde thing. You had Kraftwerk, La Düsseldorf, and you had sort of edgier kind of Ultravox, Systems of Romance, one of my favourite albums with John Foxx as the lead singer. Love Midge as well, but John was the original. And all of a sudden, this whole movement really, Depeche started in Basildon, Duran in Human League. Yeah. So there was, and the clothes that went with it were quite avant-garde. I mean, sometimes we looked like Captain Scarlet and sometimes we looked like Robin Hood. Who would know what it was from month to month?
Did you take much persuasion? Because I think you're quite a down-to-earth guy, aren't you? I mean, did you take much persuasion to get into some of those clothes?
Well, my mates my mates from those days and from school are still my mates to this day. And I've known some of them since I was, 4, 5. And so we go back a long way, and I was going, come on, we're going down the Blitz Club, but you've got to dress up a bit. And they were like, no way, Tone, no way. So I'd be dressed up with me ballet slippers and everything else, and they'd be looking pretty conventional. And then it was up to Steve Strange whether he allowed you in the club or not. So he once turned away Mick Jagger, and I said to him, what have you done? You've turned away Mick Jagger. Well, he just didn't look quite right. I said, I don't care what you look. It was Mick Jagger. I wanted to meet Mick Jagger. And but it was a good scene. It was a great scene. I mean, I was massively into it, actually. We were in a band and you wanted to stand out. And that's what being in a band is all about. You want to stand out from the rest of the crowd. But it was a great movement around the UK musically. It was a good time.
It was a real change as well, wasn't it, from punk?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I loved punk.
I think the first... Did you? Which punk bands were you into? Were you a pogoer?
Clash. Oh, yeah. I was one of the ones that would be diving into the audience, pogoing, throwing everybody around. Billy Idol, if you're listening to this, yes, I pogoed in front of you as well. Massive Generation X fan. Clash, Buzzcocks, Vibrators. Susie Sue doing the Lord's Prayer down at the Roxy in Neal Street was something to behold. And I love Susie. She's great. So, I would see, Johnny Thunder and the Heartbreakers, the Ramones, New York Dolls. It was awesome time for music. Really was.
And you were in the right place at the right time, really, weren't you, to experience all that?
Yeah, it was. I mean, the thing is, back in those days, things were pretty primitive. Economically, politically, the country was going through turmoil. You didn't have mobile phones. There's no such thing as the internet. No one had even thought about that. So it was really literally 3 channels, music and fashion. And so you adopted to one or the other, and you got your bunch of mates and you all dressed up as you did and listened to the music you did. And in those days, people got albums and went, wow, this is the new Bowie album or Queen album. And you read every little bit. And you really savoured it because that cost you a couple of weeks' pocket money.
Which brings us to the present day and on the road with Culture Club and Heaven 17.
Yeah.
When is this happening?
It's happening in December. Starts on December the 3rd in Dublin. I've got and it goes through to the London O2 on Sunday the 15th of December. So I think we should sing a Christmas song then.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, we should. It's going to be great because I've known the Culture Club boys, or most of them, since the early Blitz days.
Well, you must have known George when he was, say, at the Blitz Club.
Yeah.
Just trying to be famous, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was there. John Moss was there. Mikey and Roy I know anyway, and Martin and Glenn I've known from Heaven 17 for years and years. We're always bumping into each other at festivals. And great bunch of lads. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And they're doing hits from their 2 biggest albums. I'm going to be doing stuff from True and Parade, which are 2 of my favourite albums, actually, Spandau albums. And then Heaven 17 are doing the same thing. So it's a catalogue of hits.
What's your earliest memory of George? Do you remember the first time you saw him? Because I'm sure that would have been a memorable occasion to see Boy George in his.
Well, he used to take the coats. He was the hat check boy, or the coat check boy.
This was a small club in, I think it was Wardour Street, wasn't it? The Blitz. It was in Soho, anyway.
Well, Billy's was the first club, and then the Blitz Club just off Holborn Kingsway, and it was a wine bar, and it was a wine bar during the day, and then I think it was Steve and Rusty went along and said, "Look, what do you do at night?" And they said, "We don't do anything." I said, "Well, look, we can take it over. We can bring however many people in, and we'll control it. We'll give you a cut of the door." So they said, "Yeah, it's a no-brainer." And so, literally, everybody who was everybody in London was there in this club, and it was great fun. I mean, some people have you think that we were all sitting around discussing Nietzsche and Jean-Paul Sartre. No, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun, and George was there. I mean, he was always stunning. He's a stunning-looking man to this day. I mean, he really has got stature.
Yeah, star quality about George.
He has got star quality, and he looks amazing. Actually, he looks really amazing. He's had his troubles, as we all have, but he's come out of it. He looks $1 million. So
it's kind of a big it's almost like a Blitz Club reunion, this, isn't it?
It is.
If you knew those guys back in the day.
Yeah.
When was that? Like early 80s, 82, 83?
No, 78. The Blitz Club was, Billy's was around 78, and the Blitz Club was around the same time, because Billy's was the first club, and then it went on to the Blitz. And then we had various other clubs, Club for Heroes, La Kilt, which started off the tartan fashion.
Yeah, I can remember pictures of you guys wearing kilts.
Yeah, well, when we did the single, to cut a long story short, La Kilt was the club run by Chris Sullivan, who I bumped into recently, actually. Hello, Chris, if you're listening. And that sparked off the whole tartan look. So whatever club, and when it was Club for Heroes, that was the Sinatra suited and booted look. And we'd play Sinatra all night and just sit around drinking cocktails with my cigarette holder and stuff like that, looking very poncy.
And do you think you'll ever get tired of singing those songs?
No. People often ask me this. Do you get tired of singing True, Gold, Barricades? Barricades is my favourite. I love that one to bits. True's the love song, and that's the one where you see everybody getting a bit lovey-dovey. Gold is what I call the taxi driver's song, because when I walk around London, I go, "All right, Tone, gold!" So that's what they shout out most of the time. But no, I never get tired, because every night is a different night, every audience is a different audience. But then I'm also doing my own stuff as well, and doing new songs. Or, for instance, we did a festival in Holland the other day, and we started off me sitting on a stool singing "Feeling Good," and immediately people are like, "Hold it, he hasn't come on with all the fanfare. He's just sitting on a stool singing a song." And it grabs people's attention.
It's the Nina Simone song.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Written by Leslie Brickus and Auntie Newley.
Did they write that?
Yeah, I thought it was Nina Simone, but she actually didn't write a lot of her own stuff. But Auntie Newley and Leslie Brickus.
Good London boys there.
Oh, yeah. Half a pound of tuppenny rice.